Everyone, it's Kathy at Cool Choices. Welcome to today's webinar about leveraging sustainability in a tight labor market. I'm glad you could join me. It's a snowy day here in Wisconsin, so hopefully the weather is a little bit more friendly where you are. Looks like it might clear up here soon. In any case, I'm excited to be with you today and talk about how you can leverage your sustainability efforts in your organization's efforts to recruit and retain talent. I think this is an often overlooked asset you have as a sustainability professional, so I'm excited to talk about this today. I want to start with just a little bit of historical context relative to the labor market. So this is a graph of the unemployment rate in Wisconsin from 2005 to 2019. And, you see the very dramatic impact of the recession in 2008 when unemployment sharply goes up. We're a strong manufacturing state, lots of layoffs happening here. And then the story really from 2010 forward is of the unemployment rate going down. And notice here before the recession, we were just hovering under 5%. Today, Wisconsin's unemployment rate, this trend continues forward, is under 3%. So we're in a spot where this is a very tight labor market. Companies are competing for employees. And I think it's important to look at the graph because, dramatic events stick in our memory, and we're better at sort of remembering certain things than other things. So the recession and this kind of dramatic increase in unemployment, I think, set maybe all of us thinking about how, there are far fewer jobs than there are people. And the reality is that situation has changed. It changed slowly. We're not as good at noticing slow changes as we are rapid changes. The reality is today we're in a market where companies are really competing for talent. You talk to the human resource professionals in your organization or anybody in HR out there, they're going to tell you that it's a fierce competition. Certainly, lots of employers are talking about the struggle to find and retain talent because there's a lot of competition out there. So of course that leads to this question, what's your company's strategy? How do you make your door stand out as the opportunity door for people going forward? What's compelling there? What makes you compelling? And of course, the case I want to make today is about how sustainability can make your door shine in that. So really to start with the question, how is what you're doing around sustainability part of how your company recruits employees? And I want to do a quick poll here just because I think it's fun to sometimes get in this not very interactive format of a webinar to give you a chance to tell me what you think. So right now you've got a poll up there where you can vote. I'm curious what recruiters in your organization say about sustainability. And so I'll give you about a minute to answer that, and then we will talk about that and go forward. It looks like about half of you on the phone have answered that. I have all these magical things that I can see these things. Me saying that made more people vote. That's social norms at work, folks. I'm gonna close that there. It looks like most of the folks on the phone have voted. I'm gonna close that and let's see if I can't share it here quickly, and we'll circle back to this too. But so 80% of you said you have no idea what recruiters in your organization are saying about sustainability when a candidate asks. So we'll talk more about that going forward. So This is a really important question because, the employees you're competing for are thinking about these things. One of the statistics we like to use, this is from a Cone Communication study a year and a half ago, that found that 88% of millennials want opportunities to help their company be more sustainable. 88%. Actually, the number across all workers was about 74%. So even if you're not thinking about the young people you're competing to bring into your organization, there's this really strong urge out there for folks to be part of a solution, to feel good about the work they're doing. And you're a really, really critical piece of that, thinking about how your organization leverages the sustainability efforts and how that helps to reinforce what you're trying to do. So that's one statistic. Let me give you another. So a Fast Company article, 50% of millennials said they would take a pay cut to do work that is consistent with their values, and 90%, again, that's really close to the Cone, 88%, want to use their skills for good. Pretty consistent data about that when people are making choices about where they go to work, they're thinking about these things. And of course, I think in certain industries we've seen that recognition for a while. I think about things like healthcare, where you've got fierce competition for physicians and nurses. Reality is, though, we're also competing against companies in other industries for accountants and for computer programmers and all the things that we share across industries. And this really can make a difference. I was struck a couple of years ago by this quote from Mark Zuckerberg. So Zuckerberg was, I think in this Fast Company article, he was talking about some new things at Facebook that they were doing around social responsibility. And how he explained what they were doing was essentially, he said, Facebook isn't that cool. That the millennials they were talking to wanted to do something bigger in the world, and his folks were struggling to convince them, so they were making these changes. And that really struck me because, on a continuum of kind of the coolness factor of organizations, being part of one of the largest social media platforms in the world seems to me like a relatively influential place to be, as opposed to, making widgets of some sort. And so let me give you kind of another corporate example to ponder in this, and that's Unilever, who indeed, so when you look at the products that Unilever makes, they make soap, they make tea, they make, body sprays and all kinds of stuff like that. Okay, they also have really good ice cream in their product portfolio. Unilever, of course, is renowned for their corporate sustainability efforts, and they've done a lot around that. They're not, though, inherently cool in the stuff they make. I mean, soap and tea are two things I think are incredibly useful in my life, but it's not the cool new electronics. It's not sort of cutting edge sorts of things. And yet Unilever does a really good job of leveraging their sustainability efforts in recruitment and retention. So this is a statement from their HR recruitment team talking about how, when I read this, I just go, wow, it's not a job, you're joining a movement. That's pretty powerful. That's a pretty powerful way to frame that, and certainly to attract those folks who are interested in being part of a solution. And indeed, one of the things that their folks will tell you is that in the markets where they're doing a lot of hiring, they're positioned very well. People are interested in them. I saw a study a couple of years ago that the top 3 companies that people follow on LinkedIn, typically folks follow companies when they're interested in working there, and the top 3 were Google, Facebook, and Unilever. And one of those is not like the other. That's just really striking. That here's a really powerful example of how an organization that's infused sustainability into their culture is using that as part of the persona that then they attract folks with. So really, my quest for you today is to think about how your own sustainability efforts can be more effectively aligned with what's happening in HR and how that benefits you in the end. And we'll kind of talk more about that. To get to a place, though, where you're effectively recruiting people around sustainability, of course, there also has to be a lived experience inside the organization. I mean, you have to think about how your employees experience sustainability. And of course, all the stuff that we talk about in webinars about making it fun, social, and easy to be part of a sustainable solution, to feel good about the things you're doing, to feel connected to the people around you who you're doing sustainable things with, to be proud of the ways that you're reducing waste. All of that's that powerful thing that can create that culture, as opposed to feeling kind of scolded and shamed for the things you did wrong. And so thinking about how you build that culture within your organization, but also how you provide people those opportunities potentially to act on their sustainability commitments outside your organization in teams with other employees, whether that's volunteer opportunities or corporate initiatives of another sort. You know, there's a lot of, I think, people want to be part of the solution, and imagine how powerful that is when they go out and are addressing community things, whether that's cleaning up a park or volunteering with a group, but they're doing that as part of your organization. Creates that commitment, but also really that pride in place that can be really powerful in all of this. So thinking about how you provide those opportunities to contribute. And, you know, the broader those opportunities are, the more likely your recruiters have a real story to tell when they're out there. I'm intrigued that in the survey, you know, and I'll pull that, let me pull that back up right now while I make this point. The two answers people picked, so when people ask about sustainability, the sense is most folks weren't sure what they said. Other folks said, well, they tell people to follow up with me. I'm thinking because you're getting some questions that's the thing. It's interesting because when I ask people who do recruitment about this, the thing they most often tell me is that they refer people to the corporate sustainability report on the website. I was talking to a corporate recruiter a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him, you know, when you're on campus having those conversations, are folks asking you about sustainability? And he said, they ask me about sustainability all the time. I tell them that the report's on the website. And you know, my response to that is, okay, what I hear from those students is that they're not even going to interviews with companies that don't have a report on their website. So the reality is those kids know well how to use Google. They've read the report on your website. They want to hear some magic about what's going on in your organization. And so a recruiter that says the report's on the website, well, that's a true statement, but it's not very magical. As opposed to what, you know, I would hope a recruiter would say would be maybe sharing their own experience around this. Lots of us are involved in green teams. My team did this. Or in another setting where that's less practical, hey, this is a really cool achievement our organization reached. We've been recognized for this. You want them to be telling a real story about your organization, not just saying, yep, it's on the website. That's not very magical. Again, thinking about how do you make that happen? How do you make CSR part of the pitch? We're in an environment now where those potential employees are trying on companies and they get to pick which one they want to go to. Sustainability is one of the things that could make them pick your company if the people communicating there are telling that sustainability story effectively. So, of course, where I'm going to come to here is my classic message about visibility. It's incredibly important that those sustainability successes you're having are being conveyed across the organization so that recruiters can tell those stories. And you know that we're really in this moment, and I want you to think about this really strategically, that we're at a point where HR is going to use any tools they can to enhance recruitment and retention. They're hungry for answers, and you've got one. This is your best opportunity to embed a commitment to sustainability somewhere else in the organization. If right now you help those recruiters see how talking about sustainability means more people are interested in file applications and actually come to work for us, that's a long-term strategic benefit for your efforts. Because that means HR is now a new audience for your successes. I mean, imagine a universe where you get a call from somebody in HR who says, hey, it's you know, we're going to be headed out to campuses in force in a couple of weeks. We need to know what amazing things you guys have been doing so that we can talk about it, so that we can share those stories, so that we can use that to draw people into our organization. You've suddenly got a whole new cheering crowd who's going to help you get more things done. So there's a super strategic piece here for you to think about. They're helping those folks understand how you add value to their efforts also makes the total value of sustainability increase. So it's like this beautiful moment in time that can really reinforce what you're trying to do. And so on that, I know I'm kind of clearly, this is one of those topics that I'm getting into a preach mode on, but I am. I think this is really an exciting opportunity for you to think about how you create new alliances in your organization and really bring home that message that sustainability reduces our operating costs, mitigates our risks, and also helps us attract and retain the best talent in the market. So I really want to see you talking about that more and more out there. And with that, I'm going to open things up to questions. If you've got a question, you've got the little bin down there that you can type it in. The sources I used earlier, kind of wanting to, so a question about how do I hear you, Kathy, but how do I convince other people? So the one source I cited, the Cone Communications, that's C-O-N-E. If you Google Cone Communications millennial workforce, you will get that study that they did showing how millennials have this strong preference. But really, there's a number of articles about this. I think that if you type sustainability workforce, you would probably see any number of things. I should have found a couple of those links. I apologize. I should plan better to have resources on hand. There's a blog tied to all of our webinars, and in the blog, I know I have links to a number of those articles. So that would be probably a good source at this point. If you go to Cool Choices in the blog, it'll be the first blog because it's today's webinar. I am not seeing other questions, knowing that you all have a million things to do that are going to make our planet more habitable in the long run. I'm going to let you go. Thanks so much for everything you do, and please start talking to HR folks about how sustainability helps them do their jobs too. Best of luck. And okay, wait, there's a question just as I'm saying that. I have to share that this it's like a Luddite thing. Someone asking so if employees want to work for companies that are doing good things, are there certain good things that are more effective, that resonate more with folks than others? I don't know of any research on that. I think our experience at Cool Choices, I would say that employees are really sensitive to obvious examples of waste in their environment, and sometimes those aren't the things that are most material to the organization, but they matter to employees. They grate on you. It's like that paper cut you have on your finger that you keep running into. So for example, when a company has a corporate commitment to water reduction and there's a faucet in the women's room that's always dripping, it makes people crazy. Or that the landscaping is being watered during a rainstorm. People are like, this is a lie. Everything we're doing is a lie. That's often not the biggest water use in the organization, but it grates at people. It's an example. It's a really clear, visible example that we're not walking our talk. And it's hard for people to believe that the organization makes a difference. I would say one of the, kind of to flip the question the other way, one of the things that I hear a lot from young people as a sign that they don't think companies are very serious about their sustainability commitments is they'll go to an interview and they'll be handed bottled water. And for particularly for millennials really interested in sustainability, that's like the simplest way for a company to go, we don't even get that there's an issue here. I can think of a number of young people who said, well, as soon as they put the bottled water on the table, I knew the interview was over. I was never working there. And so thinking about those simple things that send the wrong signal is really important in this. And it's a place where I think the sustainability team can help those recruiters not send a signal that's really not true about an organization. Sometimes it's the only place the organization still uses bottled water. It's crazy. But so that is a way to kind of think about that it's often those really visible things that stand out to people and aren't very compelling. I think on the other side, I think partly why Unilever's been so successful is from the top down. They've made aggressive goals. They've been really transparent about where they are on those goals, and they've taken a stand about sustainability and climate change on a global level that's a little bit unprecedented. You're starting to see more companies do that, but they were certainly out there before others. And I think that's part of what drew folks to them in that. So hopefully that helps with that. And with that, I am going to close things. Thanks so much for joining me today, and have a terrific day with everything else you're going to do to make the world more sustainable. Thanks so much.